That said, I mean, this all sounds negative, right? Like, oh man, the Lakers are in trouble against some of these top teams. They don't have the defensive versatility of some of these groups. They're athletically at a disadvantage, all of that sort of stuff. And yet, to get into our next topic, they still have LeBron, Austin, and Luka. Luka and Austin have been playing some of the best basketball of anybody in the NBA so far this season. You've got a really talented trio that most teams would kill to have, that you're building off of for this group for the time being. Jovan, I guess let's jump into this. How do you feel these three? Because ultimately, this team's going to go as far as these three guys take them. How do you feel about how the three of them are coming together as a trio so far this season?
I would say incomplete right now, right? Like we just don't have enough of a sample size, I think, with these three. And if we do want to expand the sample size back to last season, they obviously, I thought, we're starting to come together toward the end of the regular season, and then it fell apart in the playoffs for a variety of reasons. I refuse to believe that those three on the floor together can't work together. And like right now they have a minus 5.1 net rating. And I just don't like that. That is something that I will push back against in terms of, I just think this group or that trio in particular should be able to figure it out. I do think it starts with DA. Okay, he's the center, but I think who are you putting in that fifth spot? And probably more so a Marcus, a Vando, a Jake, someone like that who I think complements those three guys better defensively, because I think right now that's the clear thing is the biggest question of the season, honestly. I think forget the rotation, forget the lineups, forget the trade for Herb Jones or whoever. Can you defend at a decent enough level with LeBron, Austin, and Luka on the floor together? And I think that's an open-ended question that right now the signs are pointing toward no. I think I want to reserve some optimism for. I think LeBron is going to physically look different a month from now compared to how he looks right now. So I do want to give LeBron still easing in to some degree, but that to me is the biggest question of the season of the offense could be the best in the NBA, but if they're still, they've been a bottom four defense going on now. I think the last 11 games, that's the concern, right? If you're a bottom four defense, you have no shot. You're losing in the first round with the level of defense they've been playing for the past 3 weeks. So that to me is the biggest question of the season and that's the thing weighing them down right now. The offense has not fully clicked with those three, but it's still been good enough. I think that the Philly game was a big step in the right direction, and that should be the blueprint moving forward of just how they operated down the stretch with those three. But my biggest thing that we just don't, I think, have an answer to yet is can you build a coherent lineup defensively with those three, and with it not being two all defense guys out there with them, right? The Lakers just don't have that personnel. So if it's DA and even Marcus or DA and Vando, is that even good enough defensively? I don't know the answer to that.
Jason, where are you at on those three? Can they get by defensively with the three of them? As noted right now, and again, we're still early, particularly with the injuries to the three of them. But right now, the three of them on the floor together are a net negative.
So I think barring, let's take LeBron's first couple of games out, because LeBron was really bad defensively in the first couple of games. I think especially in big spots, when the Lakers are locking in as a team, I think LeBron's been pretty good defensively over the last couple of weeks. I think if you take those three plus Ayton plus a good athlete at the three, they're capable of getting to that middle of the pack level of defense that I think they need to get to. I think there's a bunch of different things to dig into them individually. We talked about it earlier with Luka's efficiency, just cutting down on turnovers and trimming some of the fat with his jump shot diet, making himself more efficient there. I think he deserves a decent amount of blame for the lack of rhythm that the trio has had together, because I think he's been a little tunnel vision-y at the start of games. He's gotten a little better in the last couple games, but in general, I want to see Luka invest more in the flow of the entire unit from the start of games. Austin, I think, has been a resounding success outside of the bad games, outside of the floor that he's had. I can't complain. He's taken a gigantic leap as an on-ball shot creator. He's legitimately been one of the 15 best players in the entire NBA to start this season. I talked specifically about how I wanted to see him improve as a catch and shoot guy. He's shooting literally 41% on catch and shoot threes this year, and he's shooting 51% when he's unguarded. So he's made that improvement that he's needed to make. He just needs to not have the complete and total stinkers every time he goes against one of those excellent perimeter defenses in the league. And as far as LeBron goes, I was giving him a lot of leeway for the first few weeks of this. I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, in the next week or two, I want to see him start to pop a little bit. Like, he's been on the floor long enough. He's played enough games. I think it's time to see a little bit more improvement night to night. One of the things that I think has been good for him is the complication of the schedule getting tougher, and like him fighting against some of these more kind of like brash young teams, I think has gotten him to lock in on the details considerably more. Like, I thought the Phoenix game in the second, third, and fourth quarters was like one of LeBron's sharpest games, just in terms of like just playing super hard and being like locked in on the game plan, because he really wanted to beat Dylan Brooks. And, you know, like it's kind of nice to know, like, when he goes up against the Phoenix on next Tuesday, like, or I just feel like LeBron's going to come in ready to play in that game, because I know he wants to win that game. You know, I'm just ready to start seeing a little bit more pop. He's been absolutely deadly in the post. He has an offensive rating over 140, including passes on post-ups, but he's been really bad on catch and shoot threes. He's 7 for 27 on catch and shoot threes this year. That's typically been a strength for him. So I want to see him kind of get back to form in that department.
All right, we do need to get into our sponsor. That is Underdog. They are absolutely awesome. We certainly do appreciate them. Use that code collective. Be right back in 46 seconds. Give it to Jovan here.
No matter what sport you're watching, our sponsor Underdog has you covered this holiday season. When you sign up with code collective and play your first $5, you'll unlock $75 in bonus entries plus an exclusive gimme pick you can play right away. With Underdog Unwrapped, you'll unwrap tons of promos all throughout the holidays. They're kicking it off with a boost for Jake Paul's big fight on Friday night. On Underdog, just pick higher or lower on player stats for a chance to win up to 5,000 times your money. I've already locked in my picks for the week. Underdog is available in most states, including Florida, California, and Texas. Remember to sign up using code collective, play your first $5, and you'll get $75 in bonus entries and an exclusive gimme pick. Thank you to Underdog for sponsoring us.
So the long and short of it, there's a lot of good for all three guys, but a lot of room for improvement for all three guys. And I'd argue, you know how I always feel about this kind of stuff. Like, I don't like going after role players. Role players are role players. They make, $2 million. They make $5 million. They make $10 million. They're not the dudes that have the ability to really elevate your team the way that your stars can. Like, if Luka trims the fat and becomes more efficient, if Austin becomes more consistent in the tougher games, and if LeBron gets closer to all NBA level, that solves like 70% of the Lakers' problems. And so that's why I kind of tend to focus on those three guys.
So, Jason, you're asserting that Luka is getting out of shape?
Dude, I don't know what the deal is. If you take his first 3 games out, he's shooting in the low 40s from the field and the low 30s from 3 ever since then. He's just, it's super bizarre to see like him. I don't know about you guys. Tell me if you guys agree with this. Is he relying too much on the foul grifting now to the point where it's starting to affect his ability to make shots?
I think there may be something to that. The foul grifting is obviously a big part of his game. And what gets me is he gets taken out of the game if he doesn't get the call. He gets frustrated. He's busy. And that's nothing new with Luka, but he's yelling at the officials and all of that instead of getting back defensively when he doesn't get the call that he thinks he should get. But I thought you brought up a great point last show about Luka maybe needing to cut down on particularly the highly contested, and we saw a few of them against Phoenix, step back threes in order to get his game going to a higher degree, and maybe focusing on some easier shots, particularly when he's taking that step back with like 12, 13 seconds on the clock with a hand right up in his face, as he did that against Dylan Brooks a few times against Phoenix. I think that's the biggest thing, is just working on that. But the foul grift, the only thing that worries me about the foul thing with Luka and Austin is, do those calls go away come playoff time? And then are you really scrambling because, oh no, we have to adjust, rather than, hey, we've been playing this style all season, we know how we're going to pivot? That's my biggest concern with the foul thing, is, can they throw a different punch when those whistles aren't coming, or does that completely disrupt them? And right now I feel like it's more the latter.
I think we saw that, especially on the road trip where they lost to Atlanta and OKC. I thought it was particularly harmful there, where I believe both those games that there were a handful of possessions at least where I'm forgetting. Austin was out for the Atlanta game, right? But he was back for the OKC game. Yeah, I thought there was a handful of possessions where there was foul grifting attempts, and then there would not be, getting back in transition, and it just would kind of snowball a bit, right? Because it's almost like, people would give AD crap all the time about falling on the ground, right, and not getting back in transition, and like that kind of was a thing with LA struggling defensively in transition. Like I feel like it's been sort of the same of, I think they are accustomed to getting a certain whistle, and when they don't get that whistle, and probably won't get the same whistle in the playoffs, that's where they have to figure out like the next level of, kind of how do we overcome this, right? And part of it is just making some of those shots and getting the defense to react to that. And I think that's the challenge for them. But I do think there have been times this season with both Luka and Austin, the foul grifting has aired on the side of being a little bit too much.